Hello again, YouTube. Today I will be showing you this game idea I had sometime early 2024. It was put on hold, but now I will be getting back to it. Okay, so if you have watched Avatar Korra, you will know that there is a sport called pro bending. The objective is to knock your opponent over the back of the ring. This game of mine is quite similar to that. Only major differences are that there are no teams, therefore it is PvP, you versus another. Also, the only element bent is Earth. Right now, the game is already working right from where I left off in Godot 3.6. The player mechanics are: swipe down to pull up a small rock, swipe right to punch the small rock forward. You can also swipe down, then click anywhere on the right part of the screen to punch the small rock to that direction. You can also swipe up to pull a big rock and swipe left to block. Though only the animations for these last two have been done. By the way, this game is most likely intended for mobile, so for testing, I binded the swiping to the arrow keys. I later noticed a bug where if you hold down an arrow key, the action goes on repeatedly. To fix this in the player script, I just changed the input action from is action pressed to is action just pressed. Remember that the project right now is in Godot 3.6, which is not all bad, but I decided that if I want to make this game a multiplayer one, I would need a better solution to handle these multiple rocks spawning and destroying. I have tried doing it manually, and it didn't go so well. So I would like to take advantage of Godot 4's new multiplayer synchronizer and spawner. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a game changer for multiplayer games. On my quest to convert from Godot 3 to 4, I would just say it wasn't all that difficult. Godot 4 even has a feature that allows it to modify your code and scenes to fit its syntax and structure. Errors that it could not solve, such as this one, the tween node. The tween node was removed in Godot 4, and now you have to do some weird stuff, which took me a while to figure out. There were still issues with the tweening, which I later got right. Then there was error with the joystick. I had to get the joystick add-on for Godot 4 because trying to fix the former Godot 3 joystick was not going well. By the way, the joystick controls the left and right movement of the player. I also binded the player movement with the WASD keys. Check this out. If the player is on the ground and he pulls up a small rock and punches it, notice the speed and the distance it travels. Now compare that to if he punches the small rock while in midair. Okay, right now if wanted to run 2 instances of the game in order to test and debug the multiplayer code, you will have to do it like this and then painfully move the windows to this position every single time. But with this auto-loaded function and variables, also with this settings for ran instances, you can get it to look like this anytime you run the project. But if you want them to be at the top right instead, you can override everything with this last part. Finally, it's multiplayer time. I used this tutorial on the official Godot website. I created the multiplayer UI, copied the code into the script, then connected all the signals. Moving the players around posed no issue as they have multiplayer synchronizers for their positions. Spawning and shooting small rocks from the server also went well. Problems arose when the client tried to do it. I saw a more squashable bug and went after that one instead. So the camera follows the server on both instances. Not what we want. Fixed it by disabling the camera in the player node. Then via code in the ready function, check that we are the local authority or owner, then enable our camera. Now back to that other bug. I solved this by using the remote procedural calls or RPC to tell the server that we, the client, want to create a rock and want to shoot it in a direction. I created RPCs for hitting the small rocks and RPCs for spawning them. Now that we are done with that, there is a new challenge. Each player will be having his own device and screen. I want it to look like each player is the main player. So the server's perspective will look just as it is, but the client's perspective will look like he is also the server. Meaning on both screens, the main player will be on the left-hand side and the enemy on the right. To achieve this, on the client's end, we flip his camera horizontal view to be inverse. That makes it disorienting to move because the client is now living in a horizontal mirror world. We need to also inverse the client's controls so that if we press D, we actually are moving backwards. Before I go on to fixing this PvP client mirror code, let's do this real quick. The client spawns in the same location as the server. Not anymore. Now let's look at the final code for the PvP client mirror. I created this variable to control if we want to use this feature or not. Now let's look at all the places that were modified to achieve this effect. In the ready function, check if we are the owner of the player. Make sure we are not the server. Move ourselves to the opposite side of the ring, then flip the camera and also flip ourselves. Next, in the process function, check if we are the owner of the player, make sure we are the server, then flip the enemy player. In the physics process function, check if we are the owner of the player. Make sure we are not the server, then inverse our horizontal controls. Lastly, in the lean player function, same thing but instead inverse our lean direction. That's basically what I have for now. I will be ending this devlog, and in the next one I will be finishing most of everything, and probably that will be the demo day, and you can actually try it out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and comment. Feel free to subscribe, it helps a lot.